All right, we're continuing on our summer series, Jesus 2014, looking at what would Jesus be like today? How would he relate to the culture we live in? And today we're looking at this topic. We're looking at how would he relate to the wealthy that are in our culture, okay? The wealthy people of our culture, the rich people of our culture. How would Jesus relate to them today if he lived here with us? Now, this is the first topic in this series that I can honestly say I don't think his culture and our culture have any similarities probably whatsoever in how they economically work. For instance, back in Jesus' day, his economic system they were still in a very much a class-based system. And what that meant was this: what you were born into, you were expected to stay for all of your life. So if you were born into the richest group of rich family, you were born and you were expected to stay rich your whole life. If you were poor, you were born into a poor family and you were expected to stay poor your whole life. There was no moving around in the economic system. Where you were born is where you stayed, all right? You also had this: the people living back in Jesus' day, their main focus every day was just surviving the day. I need to get through today. I need to get food on the table. I need to find food. I need to find work. I need to get these things done. And it was very much a mindset of today and surviving today, and then tomorrow I'll think about tomorrow. Where the American society, you know this, we're always thinking 5, 10, 20, 30 days ahead, years ahead, 5-year plan, 10-year plans, dreaming about all the things we'd like to have. They weren't that mentality, okay? They were just get through today. Make sure my kids get to eat, my wife gets to eat, and we can go to bed tonight and I can wake up tomorrow. That was their mentality of the society Jesus was in. They also had this. They had real, and I want that to be known, real poverty among the sick, among the injured, among those that were widowed, among the lower classes. They had actual real poverty back in Jesus' time. You were either wealthy or you were poor based more on your family name than you were your personal actions. Meaning if you were born into the wealthy families, you were going to be wealthy the rest of your days, even if you did nothing, if you were a worthless human being, if you made horrible decision after horrible decision, you were going to stay wealthy. If you were born into the poor classes, whether you made great decisions or not, the fact of the matter is you stay poor. Wow. I'm sorry. Oh, that was Matthew. Never mind. I would have been impressed otherwise. Matthew's just Matthew. But on top of that, it would have been just like Aladdin, right? You guys all know Aladdin. Aladdin had no shot with Jasmine until he finds Genie. Once he finds Genie and he can change who he is and change his name, then he's got a shot. But until that, he is a street rat, a poor, lonely street rat, right? And they keep saying to him, you're a street rat and you will always be a street rat, Aladdin. And he sits there going, but I'm trying to make good decisions. And they're going, but you'll be a street rat, until he finds Genie. Then he gets a shot at Jasmine, because then she thinks he's from a wealthy class, right? That's Jesus's cultural context right there. And the reason I tell you that is because I have a 4-year-old daughter now. I know everything about the princesses. Everything. Aladdin, not as much. Jasmine, I know every detail of Jasmine's life. I know how she thinks, what she looks like, the clothes she would wear, the other clothes she might wear. I know them all right? So everything comes in the context of Disney princesses. Now, let's go to the other side. On the other hand, you have the American society, which is this: the American dream. We have all grown up with the American dream, understanding the American dream. And the American dream is really this: your future is based more on your personal actions than it is the family name that you have. That's the American dream. I can be born poor, and I can work as hard as I want, and I have options before me to get out of being poor, and I could eventually someday become rich. I could run my own company, even if I come from the poorest family in America. The American dream says there are no limits to what you want to achieve other than your own personal actions. That's how we grow up. That is completely foreign to the society that Jesus grew up in. For instance, the 500 richest Americans right now in the United States, 4 out of 5 of them don't come from wealth. 4 out of 5. 80% of the top 500 richest people in America, 80% of them were not born into wealthy families. They were born into poor or middle-class families, and they're the 500 richest people in America today. That's the society we grow up in. But here's the biggest difference between Jesus' time and ours, and it is this. We are all rich, every one of us. We are all filthy rich. Now, I'm going to have you stand up twice today. You get 2 opportunities. The first one is this. If you consider yourself right now to be rich, would you please stand? Okay, so I need to talk to you individuals. Okay, I got those. Okay, so we have about 6 or 7 people stand up. All right, that's what I thought, because I would have a hard time standing up if I was in your place. So let me prove my point this morning of this, that we are all rich. I want to spend some time developing this so we get it. Let me start on point number 1, water. If you look at water, 890 million people in this world right now live without clean drinking water. That water that kid's holding, that's kind of a precious thing to those kids behind him. He's got some water. He would guzzle that down. That's good water to him. Okay? 890 million people on this earth right now, that's as good as it gets for them. Let me tell you about your life. And I've used some of this about the water thing in the past, but it's always a good reminder. We go to the bathroom and water that these kids would kill each other for. Think about it. You go multiple times to a toilet and go in water that's absolutely crystal clear and clean that these kids have never even dreamed of seeing before. That's what we dispose of our waste in. That's the country we live in. We shower. How many of you shower at least a minimum, you would say, of at least a 7-minute or longer shower every day? Please raise your hand. No, okay? At least 7 minutes. If you're having a tough morning and it's hard to wake up, you might be in there 15, 20 minutes just letting the water run on you, and you just sit in the shower and let the water run on you, okay? Because it's comfortable and it feels nice. These kids would climb over barbed wire to drink the water that's going down the tubes that's washing the filth off your body, which isn't a whole lot of filth because you just showered the morning before. And if we had a day where we broke a sweat, we might shower when we get home from work or when we've been out doing some activity in the yard. So we might take 2 or 3 showers some days because we have the luxury of water that these kids would die over. Another instance of that, we can have water anytime, anywhere, any amount, and it's basically free to us. If you go out to eat this afternoon and you want to save money, what do? You order water instead of pop, right? Because they'll give it to you free. When you want water at home, what do? I go grab a glass and I walk over to my fridge and I push it on there and water comes out. Or I walk over to the faucet and I turn the faucet on and nice crystal clean water comes out. The reason I want you to understand this, we are filthy rich. I don't care if American society tells you you're poor. We are filthy rich, especially when you look at the context of Jesus' day. Let me go to another topic, food. Okay? Food. 870 million people, 20 million less than water, 870 million people suffer from daily hunger in our world today. This kid's probably as happy as all get out right there that he found those crumbs on the ground. That's probably like a fabulous meal for him for the week. 870 million people. That is almost 2.5, 3/4 times in size of the entire United States. The entire population of the United States suffers from hunger on a daily basis. Now, think about our lives. We go get our food from a grocery store. We were talking about this at our small group last week, because I said, I am so thankful I don't have to see how my food gets to me in the grocery store. Because you guys know me as a city kid, I couldn't handle like actually slaughtering the animals and cutting them up and butchering them and processing them and doing all that. I can't go hunting because I think I could probably shoot the deer. I'm not sure if I could, but I might be able to shoot the deer, but there's no way I'm going over and cleaning the thing. No shot. It just ain't happening, okay? So if I can shoot it from a ways off, I'll do it, but there's no way I'm getting close to it to look at it and then actually skin it. No chance. I don't know how you guys do that. I am so thankful I have a grocery store and I go and I pick up my hamburger and my chicken and it looks kind of nice and I throw it in the frying pan or I put it on the grill. But that's how we live our lives, is we literally go to a store where other people produce all of our food and make it nice for us and we just go and grab it and we take it home with us. That's how we live with food. This kid takes some crumbs off the ground, and you can tell he hasn't ate a whole lot in his entire life. And that kid's thankful for that meal. Here's the other thing. We eat out. Think about the eating out experience. We will leave today. So how many of you plan on eating out anywhere today? Okay, so we're at like 80% of our church attendance here today. Think about what will happen. I don't care if you're going to Taco Bueno or you're going to Red Lobster today after you leave here. The experience is the same. You will do this. You will go to a place who's already got all the food, bought it, took it to their place. You will go to them and you will tell them, this is what I would like prepared for me. And then you will hand them a little bit of money, and they will go prepare your food for you, and they will put it on a plate, and somebody else will come, and you can go sit down and have conversations, and they will come and they will sit it down before you. Even at Taco Bueno now, they bring it out and sit it before you. They will come serve you your meal, and you get to eat. And the only thing you had to do to get that food is take a few bucks, hand it to them. Everything else in the process is done. You don't have to see any of it, and it shows up on your plate. Let me tell you something. We are filthy rich, every one of us. We have refrigerators and freezers in our homes, so we don't even have to think about buying it more than maybe once every week or once every week and a half, because we can keep it stored in our house as long as we want. And if you have a freezer like I do, that's where you buy your abundant stuff, where you find it on sale, and you have that stockpiled, and literally, if things all shut down, you could eat for like 2-3 weeks easily just on the stuff you have in your freezer, because that's how much food I have access to in my life. All right? We are filthy rich. Let me give you another idea. Sanitation. 2.5 billion people lack safe living conditions. Sanitation, proper sanitation on this earth. 2.5 billion. That there's not an odd scene if you go to a lot of places in the world. Okay? We in America, think about it. I have a guy that picks up my trash. I put my trash in about every day and a half. I have to go around the house and dump it into a trash bag, and I take it outside and put it in my trash bin, and then I go sit it by the street. And when I wake up in the mornings, it's magically gone on Monday mornings. So when I get up to go shoot baskets at like 7 a.m., I go out there and it's already gone. I'm like, my magic happened. My garbage is magically gone. And tell you what, I will never see it again. I'll never see it the rest of my life. The garbage is gone. If you think about this, your toilet. Everywhere you go, you have a toilet. For instance, I counted this up. We have 25 in this building alone. 25. That number of 2.5 billion comes from how many people don't have active working toilets at their disposal or in their homes. We have 25 in this building. You have at least one in your house. Most of you, if you have a house, you might have 2 or 2.5. If you buy really big houses, you can get like 3, 3.5, 4. And sometimes we like to have like a master suite that might have our own little personal bathroom, so we don't have to use the same toilet as our children and stuff like. Folks, we are filthy, filthy, filthy rich. Your clothes, you clean your clothes in a washing machine about every time you wear them. So most of us, the clothes we're wearing today, you will take off, you will put it in the laundry, and you will wash it at some point in the next week before you ever wear it again. We're rich. Filthy rich. Let me give you one last thing. Just some random luxuries of the American lifestyle. Here's some random things. Air conditioning. We sit in here right now in air conditioning. I had my air conditioner go out for 2 days this week. It was pretty miserable. It reminded me back of Michigan before I had air conditioning. And I was like, I don't ever want to go back to that again. We sit in here. This is how rich we are. We sit in here, and some of us will complain one way or the other about the temperature in here today. Right? Now, I'm not saying that's bad. That is not bad. It's just the society we live in. We are so wealthy that those things actually matter to us, that I would prefer to be this. Before I preached today, I went up to Heather and said, can you make sure you turn down a little bit more up on stage, because it's been kind of hot the last couple of weeks. I feel a little hot up here. And she's like, oh, check that out. Why? Because my preference is at this temperature. So you look at those things and go, that's just unbelievable. The closets of clothing we have. Just throw it out. How many of you have at least 30 shirts? That's a low number, okay? 30, okay? How many of you have at least 8+ pairs of shorts? How many of you have at least 7 pairs of underwear? That's good to know. All right. We can go through this list. Okay, women, how many of you have at least 10 pairs of shoes? How many of you have at least 30 pairs of shoes? Holy cow. Jeez almighty. All right, I'm not going further than that because I don't want to know, okay? The reason I bring that out again, we are rich. Think about this. When you go to sleep that night, we sleep on fluffy mattresses. So they're all fluffy and nice, and if you happen to have enough money, you can buy the ones where you can set your own number, like the sleep, what is it? Sleep number bed, yeah, so even with your spouse, you can have different hardness than they have. How many of you have a sleep number bed? Okay. That's the life we live. And here's the last one. We sit on couches when we go home. We don't sit on floors. We sit on couches, and we like them soft and cushy, and they just sit right. The chairs you sit on right now are all padded. They're not metal ones. They're padded because they're more comfortable for you. Here's my whole point, guys. We are rich. Rich. I don't care if you think you're poor or not. You are rich. So I'm going to ask this question again. Stand if you would say you are rich. Tammy, I got you. I see you trying to stand, and we got that. All right. That's about all of you. Okay, have a seat. The reason I wanted to take the time to develop that is this. I want you to understand when Jesus talks about the rich and the wealthy in the scriptures, he's talking about us. He's not talking about the billionaires and the millionaires. He's talking about us, our entire society. We are all rich. Whether you think you're poor or not, we are all rich when you look at the society we live in versus the society Jesus lived in. And we are going to suffer the same temptations the rich people of the Bible suffered. All right? So let me now just read some scriptures to you that Jesus talks about wealth and attaining things. Here's what he says in Luke 16. He says, "No one can serve two masters. For you will hate one and you will love the other. You will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." In Matthew 6:19, he says this, "Do not store up treasures here on earth, where moths eat them and rust destroys them, and where thieves break in and steal." In Matthew 19, he says, Jesus told them, "If you want to be perfect, go sell all of your possessions and give the money to the poor, and you will have treasures in heaven. Then come follow me." In Matthew 13, he says, "The seed that fell among the thorns represents those who hear God's word, but all too quickly the message is crowded out by the worries of this life and the lure of wealth, so no fruit is produced." And in Luke 18, he says, when Jesus saw this, he said, "How hard is it for the rich to enter the kingdom of God? In fact, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter the kingdom of God." That is a small touch of his comments about the rich, about the wealthy, about possessions. When you boil down all of Jesus' teachings about the pursuit of wealth, about the hoarding of wealth, about the reliance upon wealth, he has one main concern I could boil it all down to, and it was this: trusting your wealth rather than trusting God. That was his concern, that you would at some point start to trust your wealth more than you would trust God. That was his main fear. His main fear was that rich people, us, that they would become servants of their wealth rather than servants of his. Meaning he knew the thing that you depended on for your future, the thing you trusted for your future, is actually the thing you love. And the thing you love will be the thing that determines your actions. So if you trust your money for your future, he knew you love money and you would make decisions based on money rather than him. And he knew if you trusted him rather than money, that you loved him and you would make decisions based on him rather than your money. That was his sole concern about the rich. That was his sole concern about the temptations of wealth, is where would you keep your trust about the future and where would you find your stability? Would it be in economics and financial and money, or would it be in Jesus Christ alone? That was his concern. So let me play this out in real scenarios, how this looks in our life, so that you can kind of look at your own life and go, where am I? Okay? Here's a scenario. You get off 169. And we talk about this guy every once in a while. You get off 169 and the guy's sitting there begging for money. What is your thought process? Is your thought process, I got $6, I need that for lunch today. Okay, I'll just turn on the radio and I'll look over here and check my phone out. Is your thought process, you know what, that dude's probably making like $35,000 a year there and he's a con man and I'm not even going to think about it, I'm just going to look at my phone? Or is your first response, God, should I help this guy? Okay? I'm not saying God will always say yes. There are con men, a lot of con men. I'm not saying God will always say yes, but what I'm saying is your first thing and the first thing you start the process and make your decision on, is it based on economics and what it's going to cost you financially or how they're going to use it financially, or is the first place you run to God and go, God, let me know if I should help this person out? And let God direct your decisions. Depending on which one you love will be the way you react, because what you love will determine how you make decisions in your life. The first way is money. The second one is God. Here's another scenario. Just in your daily life, you happen to overhear a conversation of someone that you kind of know or an acquaintance, or you might know them real well, and you hear they have a need, a physical or financial need or something like that. What is your first response? And this is more than just $5 or $6. Let's say we're talking a couple $100 need. So this starts to get a little bit bigger financial need. You hear they have a need, you have some connection to them. What do you think first? Do you think, man, I was saving up to get that pool? Or I was saving up to get that, and I can't really help them with that because I do have probably about most of that in my bank account right now, but I was saving that up for this thing, so I can't do that right now because that money's already set aside for something else, and I can't do that. Is that the first stuff that starts running through your mind? Or maybe somebody else heard that and they'll take care of that. I know someone else that has more money and they have more financial flexibility and they'll take care of that for them. They will handle that problem. Or do you go, God, do I need to step in here? God, you've blessed me with so much. If you need me to step in here, I'm willing to help out how I can. If this is something you want me to do. Again, does God always tell you, yes, that's your call? No. But is your first reaction going to him and going, God, should I interact here? One reaction shows you're probably trusting money. One reaction shows you trust God. Let me throw out another scenario. When you get some extra money, it comes into your path that you weren't expecting. Easy one of this, you can look at like a Christmas bonus or something, or money that's outside of your normal salary. You get a Christmas bonus. How do you react? Do you start immediately thinking about what you can buy? Or do you go, God, how can I use this? God, is there something you would like me to use this to benefit someone? What is your first thought? One is a mind loving money, one is a mind loving Christ. Okay, let me throw another one out there. When you dream about the perfect future, what do you envision? So when you dream right now about 10 years on, go, this is my perfect future. What is it you dream about? Do you dream about stuff or do you dream about relationships? Do you dream about different houses? Do you dream about different cars? Do you dream about different technology gadgets? Do you dream about furniture and things you could upgrade in your own house and stuff? Or do you dream about relationships that you have with people and how those can be developed? How God might use you to help other people and build those people up. What is your thought process in those scenarios when you get extra money? Is it about stuff or people? All right? One last one I want you to think about. When you think about what would solve all of your problems. So in those times in your life where it's tough, where you're struggling, and you think about, I need all my problems solved, and you daydream about what would solve your problems. Do you dream about winning the lottery? Or do you dream about maturing in your relationship with Christ? Which one? Which is your solution to get you out of your problems? Big cash flow of money or knowing Christ more and developing that relationship and that reliance upon him more? What is your desire? What do you daydream about to solve your solutions? One of those answers will lead you to my desires about money, and one will be I love Christ. That is real life scenarios. What you love, what you trust for the future determines our actions. It determines our thought processes. And Jesus would go, you need to be very, very careful, rich people, on the place that you put money in your life, the amount of weight you give it in your life. So to wrap things up this morning, what specifically would he actually say? If Jesus was sitting here right with us today, it's not last week where we're talking about those who are hurting or other weeks. This is one about the rich. So he could be up on stage talking to us. What would he say to us rich people? I think he would tell us this story and he would make this point. He's already said what he would say. In Luke 12, it says this. He says, he told them this story. He said, a rich man had a fertile farm that produced fine crops. So a wealthy guy had a decent life, doing pretty decent. He said to himself, what should I do? I don't have room for all my crops. Then he said, I know, I'll tear down my barns and I will build bigger ones. Let me stop for a second. Does that sound like America? I'm rich, which we've all determined we are now. I have a little bit more than I can even do with right now, so I have slightly a little bit more to buy extra luxuries. So I know what I will do. I'm not going to help anyone or use it to build relationships with anyone. What I'm going to do is I'm going to buy bigger stuff for myself. That's what he's talking about. And he goes on, he says, then I will have the room enough to store all my wheat and all my other goods. And I'll sit back and say to myself, my friend, you have enough stored away for years to come. Now take it easy, eat, drink, and be merry. That is a dream of most Americans. Get to the point in our lives where we can stockpile enough stuff for ourselves that then we can focus on the things that really matter to us and sit back and take it easy and build relationships and sit back, eat, drink, and be merry and enjoy life at that point. Enjoy other people, build relationships with people. That is prototypical America, the mindset that we have. And that's why he points out, and he tells the story. He says, this is this guy. And then he says this in verse 20. But God said to him, you fool, you will die this very night. Then who will get everything you worked for? You fool. You spend all of your time acquiring, building, trying to get all this stuff. And you're a fool because you're going to die tonight, and what good is any of that to you? And you didn't build relationships, you didn't connect with God, you didn't do any of the things you always wanted to do and thought you were going to get to, but you spent all of your time acquiring wealth. You fool. And then he wraps up with this. He says, yes, a person is a fool to store up earthly wealth, but not to have a rich relationship with God. Point blank. God says this, love money, pointless, because you don't have a rich relationship with God. If that becomes your lover, which is the money, the wealth of this world, you will obey it and you will make decisions based on it. And at the end of the day, you will be left empty-handed. And he goes, you fool, to sacrifice all that for having a rich relationship with God and developing that with his people. Foolishness. Here's what I want to do. Here's just a little something that you can do every day to help you to remember who you need to trust in this life. And this is very ironic, but you need to know this. If you have any cash on you, pull it out. We all use cash, except if you're like me, which I usually use credit cards, but I do get cash from time to time, so someone paid me back for something we paid out this morning, so I actually have cash in my pocket. So I've got like $700. No, it's like $8, but here we go. Pull out your money. You want to remember this lesson. Who do you trust? This is so ironic. This is the thing that pulls us away from God. And you look on any piece of currency we have in America, and what's it say? In God we trust. Do you? Or do you trust this? So my encouragement would be to you, every time for the rest of your stinking life, you pay with money on stuff. Read that little inscription and put priorities in place. Who do you trust? In God we trust, or in a stupid little piece of paper I trust? For my future, to take care of me, to provide for my needs, who do I trust? Would you pray with me?